Elena Vasquez stood at the observation deck of the transport ship Earth's Hope, watching the massive space station grow larger through the reinforced windows. Nexus Prime looked like a metal city floating in the void of space. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different worlds moved around it like busy insects. Each ship was different. Some looked like giant crystals, others like living creatures, and some were just strange shapes that hurt to look at. First time seeing the Galactic Council's home? Asked Captain Rodriguez, joining her at the window. Elena nodded. It's bigger than I expected, and stranger. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, 3 years learning alien languages, studying galactic law, and practicing her presentation. Elena was Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Council. Her mission was simple but crucial: convince the Council to let humanity join the galactic community as full members. The B ship's communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded like wind chimes. Earth vessel Hope, you are cleared for docking bay 77 Alpha. Welcome to Nexus Prime. That's the Zapirians, Captain Rodriguez explained. They were the first aliens to make contact with us. Good people. Elena remembered that day 10 years ago when the Zapirian trade ship had appeared near Mars. First contact with alien life had changed everything on Earth. Within months, countries stopped fighting each other and started working together. Humanity had a bigger universe to explore. Now the docking process took 2 hours. Elena used the time to review her presentation one more time. She had files about Earth's achievements, the 3 colony worlds they had built, their clean energy technology, their successful peace treaties, and their rapid space exploration. Most important were the solutions humans had already provided to several alien species. When the Kepler mining crisis happened 3 years ago, human engineers had figured out how to extract rare metals without destroying the planet's ecosystem. When the Taucid plague struck, human doctors had developed a cure in 6 months. Other species had tried for years to solve these problems. Ambassador, we're ready for you, Captain Rodriguez announced. Elena gathered her materials and walked to the airlock. She wore a simple blue diplomatic uniform with Earth's flag patch on her shoulder. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional style, and she carried herself with quiet confidence. The airlock opened and Elena stepped onto Nexus Prime for the first time. The air smelled different, cleaner somehow, with a hint of something like flowers. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal. A tall, thin creature with blue skin and 4 arms approached her. This was a Zephyrian, and Elena recognized him from her briefings. Ambassador Vasquez, the alien said in his musical voice, I am Trade Minister Keith. Welcome to Nexus Prime. Thank you, Minister. I'm honored to be here. Kavar led her through the station's corridors. The walls were made of some kind of white metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Aliens of dozens of different species walked past them. Elena saw creatures that looked like walking trees, others that floated in bubbles of gas, and some that were just patterns of light moving through the air. Your presentation is scheduled for tomorrow, Kethvar explained as they walked, but I wanted to show you something first. They stopped at a large window that looked out into space. In the distance, Elena could see a massive structure that looked like a Twisted flower made of crystal and metal, that is an architect world ship. Keithvar said, Primarch Zithara arrived. Yesterday, he leads the strongest faction in the council. Alina studied the alien ship. What do you know about his position on human membership? Cathar was quiet for a moment. The architects believe in order, Ambassador. They think the galaxy should stay the way it has been for thousands of years. They see humans as unpredictable. Unpredictable how your species learns. Fast, too fast. Some say in 50 years you went from your first space flight to building colonies on other worlds. Most species take centuries to do that. It makes some people nervous. Alina nodded. She had expected this kind of thinking. What about the other major factions? The Hive speakers control the largest fleets in the galaxy. They work like a giant insect colony, everything planned, everything organized. They don't like surprises either. The luminary control most of the trade routes. They care mainly about profit. They continued walking until they reached Alina's quarters. The room was simple but comfortable, with a bed, desk, and another window looking out at the stars. Swell, Ambassador, Keithavar said. Tomorrow will be a long day. Alina spent the evening reviewing her presentation one final time. She practiced her opening statement in front of the mirror, trying to sound confident but not arrogant. She knew that first impressions would be crucial. The next morning, Keithvar escorted her to the council chambers. Alina had seen pictures, but walking into the real thing took her breath away. The chamber was enormous, a spherical room with seats arranged in rings going up the curved walls. Hundreds of different species filled the seats, creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. At the center of the chamber was a small platform with a speaking podium. Above it, a holographic display showed Earth spinning slowly in space. Representatives of the Galactic Council announced, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. We now hear the petition of the human species for full membership in our community. Alina walked to the podium, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. She looked up at the assembled aliens, feeling very small but not afraid. Honored representatives, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's sound system. I am Alina Vasquez, speaking for the people of Earth and all human colonies. We come before you not as supplicants but as potential partners in building a better galaxy. She activated her presentation, and the holographic display changed to show images of human achievements. Earth cities with their clean energy systems, the colony world of New Geneva, with its vast agricultural areas feeding millions, the mining stations of Kepler's Hope that extracted resources without harming the environment. In the 10 years since first contact, humanity has proven its worth as a galactic citizen. Alina continued, we have solved problems that stumped other species for generations. We have shared our knowledge freely. We have kept the peace and honored all our agreements. Murmurs of approval came from some sections of the chamber. Alina saw several species nodding or making gestures that her briefings had taught her meant agreement. We bring unique perspectives to the challenges facing our galaxy, she said. Human creativity and adaptability can help solve problems in new ways. Our democratic traditions can contribute to galactic governance. Our scientific methods can advance knowledge for all species. Presentation continued for 30 minutes. Elena showed examples of human problem solving from the medical breakthrough that saved the TD colonies to the engineering solutions that prevented 3 different environmental disasters. When she finished, the chamber was quiet. For a moment, then Keithar stood up in the Zephyrian section. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium supports human membership, he announced. We have worked with humans for years. They are honest partners and creative problem solvers. Several other species voiced their support. Elena began to feel hopeful. Maybe this would be easier than she had feared. Then a new voice cut through the chamber like a blade of ice. I object. All eyes turned to the architect. Section Primarch Zethera rose from his crystal throne. He was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through his transparent body in shifting patterns. The architects cannot support this petition, Zethera announced. His voice echoed strangely, as if it came from inside a cave. Humans are chaos bringers. They destabilize everything they touch. Elena felt her heart sink, but she kept her expression calm. Primarch Zethera, what evidence do you have for this claim? Your own history provides the evidence, the crystal being replied. In 50 years, you have gone from a single world to multiple colonies. You changed faster than any species in recorded galactic history. Change brings chaos. Chaos brings war. Change also brings progress, Elena countered. Human adaptability has already benefited many species in this chamber, Elena. Vasquez stood at the observation deck of the transport ship Earth's Hope, watching the massive space station grow larger through the reinforced windows. Nexus Prime looked like a metal city, floating in the void of space. Thousands of ships from hundreds of different worlds moved around it like busy insects. Each ship was different. Some looked like giant crystals, others like living creatures, and some were just strange shapes that hurt to look at. First time seeing the Galactic Council's home? Asked Captain Rodriguez, joining her at the window. Elena nodded. It's bigger than I expected, and stranger. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, 3 years learning alien languages, studying galactic law, and practicing her presentation. Elena was Earth's first official ambassador to the Galactic Council. Her mission was simple but crucial: convince the Council to let humanity join the galactic community as full members. The B ship's communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded like wind chimes. Earth vessel Hope, you are cleared for docking Bay 77 Alpha. Welcome to Nexus Prime. That's the Zephyrians, Captain Rodriguez explained. They were the first aliens to make contact with us. Good people. Elena remembered that day 10 years ago when the Zephyrian trade ship had appeared near Mars. First contact with alien life had changed everything on Earth. Within months, countries stopped fighting each other and started working together. Humanity had a bigger universe to explore. Now the docking process took 2 hours. Elena used the time to review her presentation one more time. She had files about Earth's achievements, the 3 colony worlds they had built, their clean energy technology, their successful peace treaties, and their rapid space exploration. Most important were the solutions humans had already provided to several alien species. When the Kepler mining crisis happened 3 years ago, human engineers had figured out how to extract rare metals without destroying the planet's ecosystem. When The Taweti plague struck. Human doctors had developed a cure in 6 months. Other species had tried for years to solve these problems. Ambassador, were ready for you, Captain Rodriguez announced. Elena gathered her materials and walked to the airlock. She wore a simple blue diplomatic uniform with Earth's flag patch on her shoulder. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional style, and she carried herself with quiet confidence. The airlock opened, and Elena stepped onto Nexus Prime for the first time. The air smelled different, cleaner somehow, with a hint of something like flowers. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal. A tall, thin creature with blue skin and 4 arms approached her. This was a Zahirian, and Elena recognized him from her briefings. Ambassador Vasquez, the alien said, his musical voice. I am Trade Minister Keith. Welcome to Nexus Prime. Thank you, Minister. I'm honored to be here. Cathar led her through the station's corridors. The walls were made of some kind of white metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Aliens of dozens of different species walked past them. Elena saw creatures that looked like walking trees, others that floated in bubbles of gas, and some that were just patterns of light moving through the air. Your presentation is scheduled for tomorrow, Kethvar explained as they walked. But I wanted to show you something. First, they stopped at a large window that looked out into space. In the distance, Elena could see a massive structure that looked like a twisted flower made of crystal and metal. That is an architect world ship, Keith said. Primarch Zathara arrived yesterday. He leads the strongest faction in the council. Elena studied the alien ship. What do you know about his position on human membership? Cathar was quiet for a moment. The architects believe in order. Ambassador, they think the galaxy should stay the way it has been for thousands of years. They see humans as unpredictable. Unpredictable how your species learns. Fast, too fast. Some say in 50 years you went from your first space flight to building colonies on other worlds. Most species take centuries to do that. It makes some people nervous. Elena nodded. She had expected this kind of thinking. What about the other major factions? The Hive speakers control the largest fleets in the galaxy. They work like a giant insect colony. Everything planned, everything organized. They don't like surprises either. The luminary control most of the trade routes. They care mainly about profit. They continued walking until they reached Elena's quarters. The room was simple but comfortable, with a bed, desk, and another window looking out at the stars. Rest well, Ambassador, Keith said. Tomorrow will be a long day. Elena spent the evening reviewing her presentation one final time. She practiced her opening statement in front of the mirror, trying to sound confident, but not arrogant. She knew that first impressions would be crucial. The next morning, Kethvar escorted her to the council chambers. Elena had seen pictures, but walking into the real thing took her breath away. The chamber was enormous, a spherical room with seats arranged in rings going up the curved walls. Hundreds of different species filled the seats, creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. At the center of the chamber was a small platform with a speaking podium. Above it, a holographic display showed Earth spinning slowly in space. Representatives of the Galactic Council announced, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. We now hear the petition of the human species for full membership in our community. Elena walked to the podium, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. She looked up at the assembled aliens, feeling very small but not afraid. Honored representatives, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's sound system. I am Elena Vasquez, speaking for the people of Earth and all human colonies. We come before you not as supplicants but as potential partners in building a better galaxy. She activated her presentation, and the holographic display changed to show images of human achievements, Earth cities with their clean energy systems, the colony world of New Geneva, with its vast agricultural areas feeding millions, the mining stations of Kepler's hope that extracted resources without harming the environment. In the 10 years since first contact, humanity has proven its worth as a galactic citizen. Elena continued, we have solved problems that stumped other species for generations. We have shared our knowledge freely. We have kept the peace and honored all our agreements. Murmurs of approval came from some sections of the chamber. Elena saw several species nodding or making gestures that her briefings had taught her meant agreement. We bring unique perspectives to the challenges facing our galaxy, she said. Human creativity and adaptability can help solve problems in new ways. Our democratic traditions can contribute to galactic governance. Our scientific methods can advance clears throat knowledge for all species. The presentation continued for 30 minutes. Elena showed examples of human problem solving, from the medical breakthrough that saved the TD colonies to the engineering solutions that prevented 3 different environmental disasters. When she finished, the chamber was quiet for a moment. Then Kavar stood up. In the Zion section, the Zapirian Trade Consortium supports human membership. He announced, we have worked with humans for years. They are honest partners and creative problem solvers. Several other species voiced their support. Elena began to feel hopeful. Maybe this would be easier than she had feared. Then a new voice cut through the chamber like a blade of ice. I object. All eyes turned to the architect section. Primarch Zethera rose from his crystal throne. He was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through his transparent body in shifting patterns. The architects cannot support this petition, Zakara announced. His voice echoed strangely, as if it came from inside a cave. Humans are chaos bringers. They destabilize everything they touch. Elena felt her heart sink, but she kept her expression calm. Primarch Zethera, what evidence do you have for this claim? Your own history provides the evidence, the crystal being replied. In 50 years, you have gone from a single world to multiple colonies. You chain faster than any species in recorded galactic history. Change brings chaos. Chaos brings war. Change also brings progress, Elena countered. Human adaptability has already benefited many species in this chamber. Elena spent the 6-hour recess researching everything she could find about galactic Statute 777. What she discovered made her stomach turned cold. The law had been written during something called the Flame Wars, when a species called the Parathi had used their mastery of fire to burn entire worlds before the early Galactic Council could stop them. The Parathi had been completely destroyed 5,000 years ago. Every member of their species had been hunted down and killed. The law banning firebearer species had been written in their blood. But Elena also found something else. The Law had never been used since the Parada extinction. Most council species had forgotten it existed. Only the architects with their perfect crystal memory still remembered every ancient statute. Alina prepared her defense carefully. She gathered evidence of human, environmental restoration projects, peace treaties, and humanitarian aid. She collected testimonials from alien species that humans had helped. She documented every example of human restraint and responsibility in space exploration. When the council reconvened, Alina was ready. Honored representatives, she began. I have reviewed Galactic Statute 777. I understand the historical context that created this law. The Parathi were indeed a dangerous species that used fire as a weapon of conquest. She activated her presentation showing images of human firefighters saving alien colonies from natural disasters. But humanity is not the Parada, Alina continued. Yes, we discovered combustion early in our development, but we also learned to control it. We use fire to save lives, not destroy them. We use it to power clean energy systems, not burn worlds. The images changed to show human rescue workers pulling survivors from collapsed buildings on 3 different alien worlds. The law says firebearer species are too dangerous for galactic citizenship. But I ask you, what is more dangerous? Species that has learned to control fire and use it responsibly, or a species that refuses to acknowledge how much the galaxy has changed in 5,000 years? Several species in the chamber made sounds of approval. Alina saw some of the Zephyrians nodding, and even a few Luminari seemed interested in her argument, but Primer Zekthera was not impressed. Fine words, the crystal being said coldly, but words cannot change fundamental nature. The law exists for good reason. Firebearer species cannot be trusted with galactic citizenship. Then let me prove you wrong, Alina said boldly. Give humanity a probationary membership. Let us show you through our actions that we deserve full citizenship. The law permits no exceptions, Zethara replied. Firebearer species seeking council membership must face ritual purification. A chill fell over the chamber. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Even Alina, who had studied galactic law extensively, had never heard of this ritual. What exactly does that mean? She asked. Zethara's crystalline form pulsed with what Alina was beginning to recognize as satisfaction. According to ancient tradition, a firebearer representative must be cleansed by the element they mastered. Improperly, they must burn. Shocked gasps echoed through the chamber. Several species immediately began protesting. This is barbaric, called out Ambassador of the Peaceful Nebula Coalition. We are not savages. The ritual has not been performed in 5,000 years, added Counselor Cree of the Silicon Valley Collective. Many of us question whether it is even legal under current galactic law. But Queen Vessel Prime of the Hive speakers spoke up in support of Zethara. Ancient laws exist for ancient reasons. If we ignore them when convenient, what prevents chaos from returning to the galaxy? Alina felt the debate swirling around her like a storm. Species were choosing sides, and she realized with growing horror that this was no longer about human membership in the council. This had become a test of whether ancient laws or modern justice would rule the galaxy. I call for a Formal vote, Zathura announced. All those in favor of enforcing Galactic Statute 777, including its purification ritual. The voting began immediately. Alina watched in disbelief as the results appeared on the chamber's displays. The architects voted as a block for enforcement. The hive speakers followed their queen's lead. Many smaller species afraid to oppose powerful factions voted the same way. The Zapirians voted against enforcement, as did several other species that had worked closely with humans, but they were outnumbered. When the count finished, Alina stared at the numbers. In shock, 431 species voted for enforcement, 398 voted against, 18 abstained. She had lost by 33 votes. Council has spoken, Zathura announced. With obvious pleasure, Galactic Statute 777 will be enforced. The human representative will undergo ritual purification. Alina's legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stand straight. I request the right to appeal this decision to the high arbitrators. Appeal denied, Zathura replied immediately. Ancient law supersedes modern procedures. In matters of galactic security, Alina realized that this had been planned from the beginning. Zathura had known about the ancient law and had prepared for this exact scenario. The trial had been a sham. I also request the right to contact my government before any ritual is performed. Granted, Zathura said, though he didn't sound happy about it. You have 1 hour. Alina was escorted to a communication chamber under heavy guard. Her hands shook as she activated the quantum transmitter that would send her message to Earth. The transmission would take 6 hours to reach home, but she had to try. She recorded her message, carefully speaking directly to President Chen and the United Earth Assembly. This is Ambassador Alina Vasquez reporting from Nexus Prime. The situation has changed dramatically. The Council has invoked an ancient law that classifies humanity as a firebearer species banned from membership. They intend to execute me as part of a purification ritual. Alina paused, gathering her thoughts. She needed to be clear about what this meant. This is not about justice or law. This is about fear. The powerful species in the Council are afraid of human potential. They're afraid that we'll change things, challenge their authority, or grow too strong too fast. She looked directly into the camera, trying to project strength she didn't feel. I want Earth to know that I'm proud to represent humanity in this moment. Don't let my death be used as an excuse for war, but also don't let it be forgotten. The galaxy needs to change, and maybe my sacrifice will help that happen. Alina paused again, thinking of her family back on Earth, her sister Maria, her parents, her nephew, who wanted to be an astronaut. Tell my family I love them. Tell them I died trying to build a better future, and tell humanity to keep reaching for the stars no matter what happens here. She ended the transmission and sat back in her chair. In less than an hour she would die in front of representatives from nearly 1,000 different worlds. The first human to address the Galactic Council would also be the first to be executed by it. Alina was escorted back to the council chamber, which had been transformed during her absence. The speaking platform had been removed and replaced with something that made Alina's blood run cold. In the center of the chamber stood a metal platform with a tall stake rising from the middle. Around the base Maintenance robots were stacking bundles of some kind of fuel. This was the P of purification, an ancient device that hadn't been used in 5,000 years. The chamber was packed. Word had spread throughout Nexus Prime and representatives from species not even on the Ye Council had come to witness the event. Some looked horrified, others curious, and a few seemed to be enjoying the spectacle. Ambassador Elena Vasquez of Earth Zathara announced formally, "You have been found guilty of representing a firebearer species, seeking council membership. According to Galactic Statute 777, you must undergo ritual purification to cleanse the galaxy of this contamination." Elena was escorted to the platform by 2 large security robots. As she climbed the steps, she heard voices from the crowd. "This is wrong," someone called out. She thought it might be Keithvar Barbaric, shouted another voice, but other voices called for the ritual to proceed. Law must be upheld. Ancient wisdom protects us. Elena was secured to the stake with energy restraints that glowed blue around her wrists and ankles. The restraints didn't hurt, but she couldn't move. Looking out at the assembled representatives, Elena felt a strange sense of calm settling over her. She had done everything she could. She had spoken truth to power, defended her species with honor, and faced an unjust death with dignity. "Do you have any final words?" Zathara asked, his crystal form positioned near a control panel that would ignite the P. Elena looked up at the curved walls of the chamber, seeing hundreds of different species watching her. Some looked ashamed, others afraid, and many simply confused about what they were witnessing. "Yes," Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "Sound system, I have final words for this council." She took a deep breath, knowing these would be the last words any human would speak to the galactic community for a very long time. "You call humans firebearers as if it's a curse. But fire is not just destruction. Fire is light in darkness. Fire is warmth in cold. Fire is the spark that drives all progress and all hope." Elena's voice grew stronger as she continued, "You burn one human today because you're afraid of what humanity might become, but you can't burn an idea, you can't kill hope, and you can't stop the future from coming." She looked directly at Zathara, then let her gaze sweep across the chamber. "My death will not protect your old order. It will not stop human progress. It will only prove that this council values ancient fears more than present justice. You burn one of us today, but you'll answer to all of us eventually." Elena's final words echoed through the chamber. "Remember this moment. Remember what you chose, and remember that fire always returns." Zathara activated the controls without ceremony. The fuel around the base of the P ignited instantly, sending flames shooting upward. Elena felt the heat rising around her and closed her eyes. Her last thought was a hope that humanity would remember her not as a victim, but as a warning of what happens when justice fails and fear rules. The flames consumed Elena Vasquez, first human ambassador to the Galactic Council, as nearly 1,000 alien species watched in silence. Some would remember this day with shame, others with satisfaction, and a few with growing dread. They had lit a fire they could not control. The message from Elena reached Earth exactly 6 hours after her execution. President Chen was in an emergency session with the United Earth assembly when the transmission arrived. The quantum communication array had been waiting for Alina's regular report, but what they received instead was her final message. President Chen watched Alina's recording 3 times before calling for the assembly to view it together. The great hall fell completely silent as Alina's voice filled the chamber, explaining the ancient law and the council's decision to execute her. When the message ended, the silence stretched for nearly a minute. Then Assembly Speaker Williams from the African Federation stood up. Slowly, they murdered our ambassador, she said quietly. They burned her alive for the crime of being human. The dam burst. Representatives from every nation and colony began shouting at once. Some called for immediate military action. Others demanded economic sanctions. And few suggested withdrawing from all galactic contact completely. President Chen raised her hand for silence. When the assembly settled down, she spoke in a voice that was calm but carried the weight of absolute determination. 3 hours ago, I received additional intelligence from our monitoring stations throughout the system. Several alien species transmitted recordings of Alina's execution. They wanted us to see exactly what the council did to our representative. The chamber's main screen activated, showing fuzzy but clear footage of Alina tied to the stake. In the council chamber, the recording captured her final words and the moment the flames consumed her. Some assembly members turned away, but most watched with growing fury. The Zapperians sent us this along with a message. President Chen continued. They're withdrawing from the council in protest, so are 12 other species. They're calling Alina's execution a war crime and demanding the council be disbanded. She paused, letting that information sink in. But that's not enough, not nearly enough. President Chen activated another display showing Earth's orbital installations, lunar shipyards and colony worlds. For 10 years we've built our space infrastructure for exploration and trade. We've been good galactic citizens. We've helped solve problems, prevented wars, and shared our knowledge freely, and in return they burned our ambassador alive because an ancient law says humans are too dangerous to join their club. The president's voice grew harder. They want to see dangerous humans. They're about to get their wish. The assembly voted unanimously to authorize military action against the Galactic Council, but this wasn't a simple declaration of war. This was something new in human history. Entire species working together for a single purpose. Within hours, every human settlement space began coordinating like never before. The Luna shipyards, originally built to construct exploration vessels, switched to military production. Industrial platforms around Earth started working around the clock. Mining operations on asteroids redirected their output to weapons manufacturing. But the most significant change happened in the hearts and minds of humanity itself. The footage of Alina's execution spread across every human settlement space. On New Geneva, farmers left their fields to volunteer for military service. On Kepler's Hope, miners abandoned their excavations to join the fleet. On Red Mesa, scientists stopped their research to design new weapons. Admiral Sarah Thompson was called back from retirement to lead the response fleet. She had commanded Earth's first deep space exploration missions and knew space warfare better than anyone alive. When President Chen offered her the Position. Thompson's response was immediate. I'll take it on one condition, she said. We named the operation after Alina. What do you want? To call it Alina's Fury. Within 48 hours, Alina's Fury had become the largest military mobilization in human history. Ships came from everywhere. Military vessels converted, civilian transports, even private spacecraft whose owners demanded to join the mission. The final fleet consisted of 200 ships carrying 50,000 personnel. But this wasn't just about numbers, it was about how humans fought. The Galactic Council species had been at peace for centuries. Their military doctrines focused on intimidation and ceremonial battles with minimal casualties. They fought wars like they held debates formally, predictably, and with lots of rules. Humans had never stopped fighting wars, even after achieving world peace. Human militarily still studied every conflict in their history. They understood things the Council had forgotten: surprise, deception, psychological warfare, and the willingness to take casualties to achieve victory. General Marcus Torres, Earth's leading expert on space combat tactics, briefed the fleet commanders before departure. The Council expects us to follow their rules, he explained to the assembled officers. They think we'll challenge them to formal combat, line up our ships and fight like gentlemen. They're wrong. Torres activated a holographic display showing Nexus Prime and its surrounding space. We're going to hit them like humans have always fought. Fast, hard, and from directions they don't expect. We'll use every advantage we have. Our ships are faster because we designed them for long-range exploration. Our weapons are more efficient because we had to make them work in hostile environments. Most importantly, our people are more motivated because they're fighting for justice, not politics. The fleet departed Earth system exactly 1 week after Alina's execution. As the ships activated their hyperspace drives, people throughout human space watched and waited. This wasn't just a military mission, it was humanity's answer to galactic injustice. The journey to Nexus Prime took 2 weeks. During that time, Admiral Thompson received regular intelligence updates from sympathetic alien species. The Council was in chaos. Zekthara's faction was trying to maintain order, but more species were withdrawing from the Council every day. Some alien governments were privately supporting humanity's mission. The Zapirians offered to share intelligence about Council military capabilities. The Peaceful Nebula Coalition promised to provide medical aid for human casualties. Even some Luminari trading companies quietly supplied fuel and spare parts for the human fleet. But Alina's Fury also faced opposition. The Architect fleet was mobilizing their geometric fortress ships. The Hive Speaker swarms were moving toward AD Nexus Prime. Several other species were sending military forces to defend the Council. What none of them expected was how humans would actually fight. Alina's Fury arrived at the edge of the Nexus Prime system during the night shift. Instead of announcing their presence and demanding formal combat, they simply appeared on long-range sensors like ghosts. Admiral Thompson's first action shocked the entire galaxy. She broadcast a message on all frequencies that reached every inhabited world within 50 light years. This is Admiral Sarah Thompson of the United Earth Fleet, commanding the Task Force. Alina's Fury we have come to. Nexus Prime seeking justice for the murder of Ambassador Elena Vasquez. The transmission included footage of Elena's execution, her final words, and documentation of the corrupt legal process that led to her death. We are not conquerors, Thompson continued. We are not invaders. We are humans seeking justice for a crime committed against our people. Any species that wishes to avoid conflict should evacuate Nexus Prime within 72 hours. After that time, we will consider any military vessel in this system to be defending the Council that burned our ambassador alive. The message ended with Elena's final words. You burn one of us, but you'll answer too. All of us. The broadcast caused panic throughout the galaxy. Some species immediately began evacuating Nexus Prime. Others demanded that the Council surrender the individuals responsible for Elena's death. A few called for the Council to negotiate with the humans, but Zechithara refused all compromise. He announced that the Architect fleet would defend Nexus Prime and that Elena's execution had been completely legal under galactic law. Humans are chaos bringers, he declared in his own broadcast. This unprovoked attack proves that Firebearer species cannot be trusted. We will destroy this fleet and eliminate the human threat permanently. What Zechithara didn't understand was that his broadcasts were being recorded and transmitted throughout human space. Every human settlement heard his words about eliminating the human threat. The fear and anger that had driven Elena's fury to Nexus Prime now spread to every human in the galaxy. Admiral Thompson received thousands of messages from human civilians volunteering to fight mining ships, requested permission to ram enemy vessels, transport captains asked to be converted into weapons platforms. Even the research station orbiting Pluto sent a message offering to join the battle. For the first time in their history, humans were truly united, not by a common goal or shared interests, but by shared outrage and the determination to prove that justice mattered more than ancient laws. As the 72-hour deadline approached, Thompson made one final broadcast to the Council forces gathering around Nexus Prime. You have been given every opportunity to surrender the war criminals responsible for Ambassador Vasquez's murder. You have chosen instead to defend them. You call humans dangerous chaos bringers who cannot be trusted with galactic citizenship. She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried the weight of humanity's judgment. You're about to learn that you were right about one thing when you murder our people for the crime of being human. We are very dangerous indeed. Elena's fury moved toward Nexus Prime at full speed, ready to show the galaxy what human justice looked like when diplomacy failed. Behind them, every human in space watched and waited to see if 50,000 people could change the course of galactic history. The Council forces outnumbered Elena's fury 3-1. They had bigger ships, more advanced technology, and the advantage of fighting in their home system, but they had never faced an enemy that fought like humans, with nothing to lose and everything to prove. The battle for Nexus Prime was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Battle of Nexus Prime began at exactly 800 Standard Galactic Time when Admiral Thompson's 72-hour ultimatum expired. But the first shot wasn't fired by Elena's fury. It came from an Architect fortress ship that tried to destroy Human reconnaissance drone. The Council forces had arranged themselves in the traditional formation. A grand display meant to intimidate enemies into surrender, massive. Architect ships formed geometric patterns that looked like crystal. Flowers blooming in space, hive speaker. Swarm fleets moved in perfect coordination, their biomechanical ships pulsing with organic light, support. Vessels from dozens of other species created a wall of metal and energy. Around Nexus Prime, Admiral Thompson studied the enemy formation from the bridge of her flagship, Alina's Justice. The Council fleet was impressive, nearly 600 ships arranged in neat, predictable patterns, their showing off observed. Captain Martinez, Thompson's tactical officer, look at those formations. They're more concerned with looking powerful than fighting effectively. Thompson nodded. They haven't fought a real war in centuries. They've forgotten that battles are won by tactics, not ceremonies. She activated the fleet communication system, speaking to all 200 ships of Alina's Fury. All vessels, this is Admiral Thompson. The enemy is arranged exactly as we expected, formal, predictable, and vulnerable. Remember your training, fight like humans, not like them. Thompson out. The human fleet had spent the 72-hour waiting period preparing for this moment, while the Council forces arranged themselves in pretty patterns. Alina's Fury had been studying their enemies, identifying weaknesses and planning attacks that the Council couldn't predict. Human military doctrine was based on principles the Council had never encountered: speed over strength, surprise over ceremony, effectiveness over elegance. The first human attack came from an unexpected direction, while the Council fleet focused on the main human formation. 30 small ships had been moving through the asteroid field that surrounded Nexus Prime. These weren't warships, they were converted mining vessels and exploration craft crewed by volunteers who knew they probably wouldn't survive. Led by Captain Rosa Delgado, a former asteroid miner, these ships emerged from the asteroid field directly behind the Council formation. They carried improvised weapons, mining lasers, modified for combat, cargo containers filled with explosives, and electromagnetic pulse devices designed to disable enemy ships. This is for Alina. Captain Delgado broadcast as her ship rammed directly into an architect fortress, its explosive cargo detonating. On impact, the architect's ship built to intimidate rather than to withstand. Ramming attacks cracked like crystal struck by a hammer. Its geometric perfection became its weakness as the structural damage spread through its crystalline framework. The surprise attack threw the Council formation into chaos. They had never fought an enemy willing to sacrifice ships in suicide attacks. Their doctrine assumed that all species valued individual ship preservation over tactical advantage. While the Council forces tried to reorganize, the main human fleet struck with precision they had never seen before. Human ships didn't line up for formal duels. Instead, they moved in small groups, coordinating their attacks through quantum communication links that let them react faster than any enemy could predict. Commander Zhang led a squadron of fast attack ships in a strike against the hive speaker command vessels. The insectoid aliens were used to perfect coordination, but human cyber warfare specialists had been studying their communication frequencies during the waiting period. Jamming commenced reported Lieutenant Kim from the Digital Storm. Her team had developed viruses specifically designed to disrupt Hive speaker coordination protocols. The result was immediate. Hive speaker swarms that had moved in perfect harmony suddenly began flying into each other. Their biomechanical ships dependent on constant communication with the collective mind started behaving erratically. Queen Vessel Prime's voice filled the communication channels, buzzing with fury and confusion. What is this? Our unity is being disrupted. How are they breaking our connection? But the humans weren't done. While cyber warfare teams disrupted Hive speaker coordination, other human ships launched attacks the Council had never imagined. Captain Williams commanded a group of converted cargo ships that had been loaded with thousands of small drones. These weren't military drones, they were mining robots, maintenance bots, and even cleaning units, all reprogrammed for combat. Drone swarm away, Williams announced as her ships released clouds of small machines that immediately swarmed toward enemy vessels. Council ships' weapons were designed to fight other large vessels. They couldn't effectively target thousands of small, fast-moving drones. The little machines attached themselves to Council ships and began doing what they were originally designed for: cutting, welding, and disassembling. Architect ships found their perfect crystal surfaces being methodically cut apart by mining drones. Hive speaker vessels discovered maintenance bots crawling through their organic systems, severing neural connections. Even the massive luminary trade ships pressed into military service found their hulls being systematically dismantled by robots that had originally been built to maintain space stations. Primarch Zethara, commanding the Architect fleet from his flagship Crystal Perfection, watched in disbelief as his forces fell into chaos. "This is not warfare," he broadcast to his commanders. "This is madness. They fight without honor, without rules, without any sense of civilized conduct." Admiral Thompson, monitoring Council communications, smiled grimly. "That's exactly right," she said to her bridge crew. "We're not fighting by their rules, we're fighting to win." The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome became clear after the first two. The Council forces, despite their numerical advantage, couldn't adapt to human tactics. Every time they tried to reorganize, the humans hit them from a new direction with a new strategy. Human pilots trained on combat simulations that covered thousands of years of warfare proved devastatingly effective. They used Earth's military history as a playbook, adapting ancient tactics to space combat. Commander Jackson led a squadron in a maneuver based on naval battles from Earth's World War II. His ships pretended to retreat, drawing Architect vessels into pursuit, then turned and attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. "It's called the thatch weave," Jackson explained to his pilots as they overwhelmed their pursuers. Developed by Earth naval aviators in 1942, still works. Captain Thompson used a strategy from Alexander the Great, concentrating overwhelming force against weak points in the enemy formation. Lieutenant Colonel Davis employed tactics from the American Civil War, using fast ships to raid enemy supply lines and communication relays. The Council forces had no answer for this kind of warfare. They had forgotten the hard lessons that only come from actual combat experience, but the humans were paying a price for their victory. Alina's fury had started with 200 ships. By the 6th hour of battle, only 127 were still operational, nearly 15,000. Humans had died in the attack, including Captain Delgado and her entire suicide squadron, yet morale remained high. Every human in the fleet knew they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. They were fighting to prove that justice mattered more than ancient laws, that right mattered more than might. The turning point came when human forces reached Nexus Prime itself. The massive space station was defended by automated systems and a small garrison, but most of its population had evacuated. During the 72-hour ultimatum, Admiral Thompson made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Instead of bombarding the station, she demanded its surrender. Nexus Prime Control, this is Admiral Thompson, you are surrounded. Your defending fleets are destroyed or retreating. Surrender now, and we guarantee the safety of all civilians and non-combatant personnel. The response came from Primarch Zekara himself, his crystal form appearing on the main communication screen. Humans, he said, his voice carrying both fury and what might have been respect, you have proven yourselves to be everything we feared: chaotic, unpredictable, and devastatingly effective in combat. Thompson nodded. And you've proven yourselves to be exactly what we expected: arrogant, inflexible, and willing to murder innocents to maintain your power. What do you want? Zekthera asked. Justice, Thompson replied. Immediately, surrender yourself and Queen Vessel Prime for trial. Acknowledge that Alina Vasquez was murdered in violation of galactic law. Dissolve the current council and establish a new governing body based on justice rather than ancient prejudices. And if we refuse, Thompson gestured toward the tactical display showing the wreckage of the council fleet, then we'll take Nexus Prime by force, and galactic history will remember this as the day the old order died. For a long moment, Zetchera was silent. Around him, other council members could be seen arguing frantically. Finally, the architect leader spoke again. The council agrees to your terms. We surrender. Alina's fury had won the battle of Nexus Prime, but Admiral Thompson knew the real victory was yet to come. Defeating the council fleet was one thing. Building a better galactic civilization to replace it would be much harder. As human ships moved to secure Nexus Prime, Thompson thought about Alina Vasquez. The young diplomat had come here hoping to build bridges between species. Instead, her murder had led to the destruction of the old galactic order. But maybe that was what had been needed all along. Maybe some bridges could only be built after the old foundations were torn down. Admiral reported. Captain Martinez, we're receiving surrender signal from 67 council vessels. The others have fled the system. Let them go, Thompson replied. We came here for justice, not conquest. She opened a communication channel to the entire galaxy, knowing that her words would be heard on thousands of worlds. This is Admiral Sarah Thompson of Alina's Fury. The Battle of Nexus Prime is over. The Galactic Council that murdered Ambassador Alina Vasquez has surrendered, but this is not the end. It's the beginning. Thompson paused, thinking of Alina's final words about fire always returning. Ambassador Vasquez told the council that you can't kill hope. Today humanity has proven her right. The old order that valued ancient fears over present justice is finished. Now we build something better. The fire that had consumed Elena Vasquez had spread across the galaxy, but instead of bringing destruction, it had brought the light of change. The old council was defeated, but the work of building a new galactic civilization was just beginning. 6 months after the Battle of Nexus Prime, the Great Station had been transformed into something the galaxy had never seen before. The old council chambers where Elena Vasquez had been murdered were being converted into the Elena Vasquez Memorial Center for Galactic Justice, where once ancient laws had been used to justify murder. Now representatives from hundreds of species work together to write new laws based on fairness and equality. Admiral Thompson stood in what had once been the Pi Chamber, watching construction crews install a massive holographic display. Soon this room would house the central archives of the new Galactic Federation, a democratic body where membership was earned through merit, not granted based on how long a species had been traveling through space. The irony is perfect, said Keithvar the Zahirian, who had become one of Thompson's closest allies in building the new order. They burned Elena here to prevent change. Now this room will be the center of the greatest change in galactic history. Thompson nodded, but her expression remained serious. Change is easy to start, making it last is the hard part. The past 6 months had been the most challenging of Thompson's life, and that included fighting the Battle of Nexus Prime. Winning a war was simple compared to building a lasting peace. After the Council's surrender, Thompson had faced an immediate crisis. Hundreds of alien species were suddenly without any central government. Trade routes were disrupted. Territorial disputes erupted between species that had been kept peaceful only by council authority. Pirates and raiders began attacking merchant ships, knowing there was no galactic police force to stop them. Some of Thompson's own officers had suggested that humanity should simply take control of the galaxy by force. Elena's fury had proven that human military tactics were superior to anything the established species could field. A few quick campaigns could establish Earth as the dominant galactic power. Thompson had rejected that idea immediately. Elena didn't die so we could become galactic dictators, she had told her staff during a heated planning meeting. She died because the old council valued power over justice. If we just replace them with human power, we're no better than they were. Instead, Thompson had done something unprecedented in galactic history. She had begun building a truly democratic galactic government. The process had started with the trial of Primarch Zekthera and Queen Vessel Prime. Thompson could have simply executed them in revenge for Elena's murder, but instead she had insisted on a proper legal proceeding with evidence, witnesses, and representation for the accused. The trial had been broadcast throughout the galaxy, letting billions of beings see justice in action for the first time. Zekthera and Queen Vessel Prime were found guilty of murder under galactic law, but their sentences reflected the new order's commitment to rehabilitation over revenge. Instead of execution, they were sentenced to spend their lives working to repair the damage they had caused. Zethor now worked as a construction supervisor, helping to rebuild the infrastructure his war had destroyed. Queen Vessel Prime led teams of former Hive Speaker warriors in humanitarian missions, providing aid to species affected by the conflict. Justice without mercy is just revenge. Thompson had explained during her sentencing statement. Alina believed in building bridges, not burning them. These sentences honor her memory by choosing rehabilitation over retaliation. The trial had established an important precedent, but the real work had been building the new Galactic Federation. From scratch, Thompson had sent messages to every known species in the galaxy, inviting them to participate in designing a new form of galactic government. The response had been overwhelming. Species that had been excluded from the old council for thousands of years eagerly joined the Constitutional Convention. Young civilizations that had never been allowed to participate in galactic affairs suddenly found themselves with equal voices in designing the future. But the process had also revealed deep divisions that the old council had kept hidden. Species had territorial disputes going back millennia. Religious differences had created lasting hatred between entire civilizations. Economic inequalities had left some worlds fantastically wealthy while others struggled with basic survival. The Constitutional Convention had lasted 4 months and nearly collapsed dozens of times. Thompson had found herself mediating disputes between species she had never heard of over issues she barely understood. The breakthrough had come when a young representative from a species called the Builders had suggested using Alina's final words as the foundation for the new government. She said to judge species by their actions, not their origins. The Builder had argued, what if that became our core principle? What if membership in the Federation was based on what you do, not who you are or how long you've been in space? The idea had transformed the entire debate. Instead of arguing about which species deserved power, the representatives began designing a system where power was earned through contribution to galactic welfare. The final constitution created a unique form of government. The Galactic Federation was led by a council of merit. Seats were earned through demonstrated service to galactic civilization. Species could gain representation by solving problems, preventing conflicts, providing humanitarian aid, or advancing scientific knowledge. Humanity's role in the new order was both powerful and limited. Alina's fury had earned Earth significant influence through their victory at Nexus Prime, but Thompson had insisted that humans hold only a small percentage of Federation leadership positions. We're not conquerors, she had explained to President Chen during a quantum communication session. We're partners in building something better. The new system had its critics. Some species complained that it was too complex, too democratic, too willing to change established traditions. A few had refused to join the Federation entirely, preferring to remain independent. But the results spoke for themselves. In just 6 months, the Federation had solved 3 major territorial disputes, organized relief efforts for 7 natural disasters, and established new trade routes that increased prosperity throughout the galaxy. More importantly, the Federation had proven that different species could work together as equals, rather than rulers and subjects. Thompson's thoughts were interrupted by Captain Martinez, who approached with a data pad containing the latest reports. Admiral, the Kepler Mining Consortium has requested Federation membership. They're offering to share their new asteroid processing technology with any species that needs it. Thompson smiled. The Kepler Mining Consortium was a human organization, but their application would be judged by the same standards as any other species. Membership wasn't automatic even for humans. What's their contribution to galactic welfare? She asked. They've prevented 3 mining accidents in alien systems, provided emergency supplies to the drought-affected worlds, and their processing technology could solve resource shortages for dozens of species. Sounds like they've earned consideration. Forward their application to the Merit Review Board. It was a small example of how the new system worked. Instead of membership being based on military power or political influence, the Federation evaluated each application based on actual contribution to galactic civilization. As Thompson reviewed the reports, she was interrupted by an announcement over the station's communication system. All personnel, please proceed to Memorial Plaza for the dedication ceremony. Thompson had been dreading this moment and anticipating it in equal measure. Today marked the official opening of the Elena Vasquez Memorial Station and the lighting of the eternal flame that would burn in Elena's honor. She made her way to the plaza, a large, open area that had been constructed at the heart of the station. Representatives from over 300 species had gathered for the ceremony, including many who had witnessed Elena's execution in this same location 6 months earlier. At the center of the plaza stood a simple but beautiful memorial, a crystal flame designed by former architect engineers working as part of their rehabilitation, rose from a base inscribed with Elena's final words in hundreds of different languages. You burn one of us, but you'll answer to all of us. President Chin appeared on the communication screens positioned around the plaza, broadcasting live from Earth. 6 months ago, Ambassador Elena Vasquez came to Nexus Prime, hoping to build bridges between humanity and the galactic community. Chen began. Instead, she was murdered by those who feared change and valued ancient prejudices over present justice. The president paused, looking directly into the camera, but Elena's death was not in vain. From the tragedy of her murder has come the greatest transformation in galactic history. The Galactic Federation she dreamed of has become reality, built on the principles she died defending. Thompson stepped forward to address the assembled representatives. Elena Vasquez believed that species should be judged by their actions, not their origins. She believed that justice mattered more than tradition, that cooperation was stronger than domination, and that the future could be better than the past. Thompson gestured toward the memorial flame. This flame burns not as a symbol of destruction, but as a symbol of the light that Elena brought to the galaxy. It represents hope, progress, and the belief that different species can work together as equals. She activated the memorial's central system, and the crystal flame ignited with a brilliant light that could be seen throughout the station. Let this flame remind us that justice delayed is justice denied, that fear of change is not wisdom, and that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance against those who would sacrifice others for their own power. The ceremony concluded with a moment of silence for Elena and all those who had died in the Battle of Nexus Prime. Then, representatives from hundreds of species filed past the memorial, many leaving flowers, crystals, or other tokens of respect. Keithvar approached Thompson as the Crowd began to disperse. She would be proud, the Zephyrian said quietly. Alina always believed in the potential for different species to work together. The Federation proves she was right. Thompson nodded, but her expression remained thoughtful. Building the Federation was the easy part. Keeping it together will be much harder. You sound worried. I am worried, Thompson admitted. Democracy is fragile. It requires constant work, constant vigilance, and constant compromise. There will always be species that want to return to the old ways where power was based on strength rather than service. She looked around the plaza, watching representatives from dozens of different species talking and working together. But Alina taught us something important. Change is possible even when it seems impossible. The galaxy thought the old council would last forever, but Alina's courage helped tear it down. In a single day, Thompson smiled for the first time in weeks. If one human diplomat could change the course of galactic history, imagine what we can accomplish when we work together. As night fell on Nexus Prime, the eternal flame continued to burn in Alina's honor. Ships from hundreds of worlds came and went from the station's docking bays, carrying representatives who were building a new kind of galactic civilization. The Federation faced many challenges. Some species still resented human influence. Others wanted to return to the predictable stability of the old council. Pirates and raiders continued to attack shipping, taking advantage of the transition period. But for the first time in galactic history, these problems were being addressed by a government that represented all species equally. Decisions were made based on evidence and merit rather than tradition and fear. In her quarters aboard the Alina's Justice, Admiral Thompson wrote her daily report to Earth. She described the day's progress, the challenges ahead, and her hopes for the future. The Federation is still young and fragile, she wrote, but it's built on Alina's principle that species should be judged by their actions. Every day I see evidence that this principle works. Former enemies are becoming allies. Ancient prejudices are being abandoned. Young civilizations are contributing ideas that older species never considered. Thompson paused in her writing, looking out her window at the eternal flame burning in the Memorial Plaza. Alina told the council that fire always returns. She was right, but not in the way they expected. The fire of her courage has spread throughout the galaxy, lighting the way toward a better future. The Admiral finished her report and prepared for sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new crises to solve, and new opportunities to prove that the Federation could work. But tonight, Alina Vasquez's flame burned bright at the heart of galactic civilization, a permanent reminder that one person's courage could change the course of history. The galaxy Alina had dreamed of was finally becoming real. The massive alien ship darkened the sky. As it approached Earth's orbit, its hull was scratched and dented, bearing the marks of countless space battles. This was no diplomatic vessel or trading ship. It was a garbage truck. Captain Jack Reed watched from the observation deck of Orbital Station Echo as the alien vessel opened its cargo hold. Cloud of space junk tumbled out, broken engine parts, twisted metal panels, shattered computer cores, and other bits of technology Reed couldn't even name. Another delivery from our generous galactic neighbors, he said dryly. Lisa, his second in command, stepped beside him, clear his throat. Third one. This Weak. The Galactic Council must be cleaning house. Reed nodded 10 years ago when humans first achieved faster than light travel. They'd been shocked to discover they weren't alone in the universe. Even more shocking was learning their place in the cosmic order. Earth wasn't invited to join the Galactic Council as equals. Instead, it was designated as Disposal Zone 7, the bottom of the interstellar hierarchy. Start the collection drones, Reed ordered, and tell Marcus to prep the sorting bay. In the 3 years since Reed had taken command of Earth's largest orbital scrapyard, he'd learned to make the best of a bad situation. The aliens might see Earth as a trash can, but Reed saw opportunity in every piece of discarded technology. Marcus Gray, chief engineer of Echo Station, whistled as the sorting conveyor brought in the latest haul, his thick hands calloused from years of mechanical work picked through circuit boards and power cells. With surprising gentleness, "Well, what do we have here?" he murmured, holding up a small hexagonal device. It was barely larger than his palm, made of a dark metal that seemed to drink in the light. When he turned it over, faint blue lines pulsed across its surface like veins. He set it aside in a special container that already held 6 similar devices found in previous deliveries. The container was marked Whispers, named for the faint, almost inaudible hum the objects made when placed near each other. Clear's throat in her lab too. Decks below, Dr. Emater frowned at her computer screen. Something wasn't adding up. She'd been analyzing the junk deliveries for patterns, looking at which alien species delivered what and when. The data showed something strange. Computer display all deliveries from the Arcturus sector last 6 months. The screen filled with dates, ship IDs, and manifest listings. Emma's eyes narrowed. Why would the Krello battleships be dumping navigation systems? They're at war with the Dovan Republic. They should be keeping every advantage. She pulled up another file. And why are the Dovnans discarding quantum shielding units during the same conflict? A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. She looked up to see Reed standing there. "Got a minute, Doctor?" he asked. "Actually, I'm glad you're here," Emma said, gesturing to her screen. "I think something weird is happening with our trash deliveries." 2 hours later, Reed called an emergency meeting in the station's secure conference room. Present were Lisa, Marcus, Emma, and Tom. "Blake, the station's security chief. I believe we're being used," Reed said bluntly. "Dr. Torres has found patterns suggesting the alien garbage drops are too organized to be random." Emma nodded. "Certain technologies are being systematically discarded by multiple species, often components that should be valuable to them. And there's this." She displayed a hologram showing the hexagonal devices Marcus had collected. These components all connect to each other, creating what looks like a network, but they've been delivered by 6 different species over 8 months. "That's no coincidence," Blake said, his security training making him instantly suspicious. Marcus scratched his beard. "Those whisper devices give off energy readings unlike anything in the Council's published tech catalogs. Why dump advanced tech on a backwater planet like ours?" Reed's communicator beeped. "Captain, we have an unauthorized shuttle approaching docking bay 3, came the voice of the station's traffic controller. Blake was on his feet immediately. "Security teams to level 3. The alien who emerged from the shuttle was tall and thin with pale blue Skin and 4 arms, he wore no council insignia or species markings. I'm Vex, the alien said in perfect English. I must speak with Captain Reed. Immediately privately, after a thorough security scan revealed no weapons, Reed agreed to meet with the visitor alone. You have been collecting the Whisper nodes, Vex said without preamble once. They were behind closed doors, Reed kept his face neutral. I don't know what you're talking about, Vex made a sound like gentle laughter. Please, Captain, I helped design the delivery schedule. Certain factions within the Council have been working to help humanity without the others knowing. Why would anyone on the Council help us? They treat Earth like a cosmic landfill. Politics, Vex said simply. The Council is not united. Some of us believe humanity has potential, others fear that potential and work to keep you weak. The trash designation was their idea. Keep humans busy sorting garbage while limiting your access to advanced technology. Reed leaned forward. But you've been hiding technology in our garbage. Precisely. Technology the Council banned centuries ago. Technology that could change everything. What exactly are these Whisper nodes? Vex's 4 hands made a complex gesture. They are components of a detection system that operates on principles your scientists haven't discovered yet. When properly assembled, they can hear the movements of ships across vast distances, see through cloaking fields, detect communications thought to be secure. Clears throat. Reed's mind raced with possibilities. Why give this to us? Because war is coming, Captain Reed. The Council majority has decided Earth has too much potential and too few defenses. Some want your resources, others want your labor. None plan to ask permission. And what do you want? Vex's alien face showed something like sadness. Balance. Change. For too long the older species have kept the younger ones down. Perhaps it is time for that to bend. He handed Reed a small data crystal. This contains location data for 12 more Whisper nodes, disguised and hidden in upcoming deliveries. There are also basic assembly instructions. Why would I trust you? Reed asked. You shouldn't, Vex replied, but verify my claims. Study the nodes you've collected. Your doctor, Taus, is already seeing the patterns. After Vex departed, Reed sat alone for a long time, turning the data crystal over in his hands, thinking about whispers in the dark and garbage that might save humanity. That night Reed called his most trusted crew to a secret meeting in the station's maintenance level. From now on, he told them, showing them the crystal and explaining his meeting with Vex. We have a new priority. Every delivery gets thoroughly scanned for these Whisper components. If what the alien says is true, we're talking about building something the Council explicitly forbids. Blake warned. They already see us as trash collectors. Lisa said maybe it's time to show them what humans can build from garbage. Reed looked around the room at his team. Choice is yours. This could be dangerous. Marcus picked up one of the hexagonal devices, watching the blue light pulse across its surface. Danger never stopped humans before. I say we build this thing and see what whispers we can hear. One by one they all nodded in agreement. In the darkness of space around them, more alien ships were already approaching, their holds full of trash and hidden within pieces of a weapon that would change the fate of Earth forever. 3 months after meeting Vex, Captain Reed stood in a hidden chamber deep within asteroid BX 722. The large hollow rock had once been in abandoned mining operation. Now it served a new purpose. How's it coming along? Reed asked as he approached. Marcus, the chief engineer, looked up from the strange device he was assembling. 37 whisper nodes now formed a complex pattern across the floor of the chamber, each hexagonal piece connected to others with thin beams of blue light. It's talking to itself, Marcus said, wiping sweat from his forehead. These components recognize each other like they want to be together. Reed nodded. The data crystal from Vex had led them to more of the whisper nodes hidden in trash deliveries. Each new piece they added made the network more powerful. And what exactly is it doing? Reed asked. Marcus shrugged. That's still Emma's department. All I know is that it's creating some kind of field that extends far beyond this asteroid. In another section of the asteroid, Emma stared at screens filled with data. Behind her, a wall displayed a three-dimensional map of nearby space. Small dots of light moved across it, ships traveling through the solar system. Look at this, she said as Lisa entered the room. Lisa approached the display. Those are Council patrol ships, right? Yes. Standard patrols that pass through our system every week. Emma tapped a few keys and suddenly new dots appeared on the screen, smaller, fainter, and these are ships that shouldn't be there at all. Lisa's eyes widened. Cloaked vessels. The Whisper network can see them. Emma nodded. It's picking up ripples in what Vex called subspace layer of reality ships use for faster than light travel. Nothing can move through subspace without creating ripples, and the Whisper network detects those ripples like seeing the wake of an invisible boat. Lisa said, exactly. And it gets better. Emma zoomed the display out to show a much larger area of space. We're picking up echoes from as far as the Arcturus sector. The network hears every whisper between the stars. Fleet Admiral Diane West was not easily impressed. As the highest-ranking officer in Earth's Defense Forces, she had seen her share of scientific breakthroughs, but what Reed showed her that day made even her stern face show surprise. You built this from alien garbage? She asked, walking around the Whisper network that now filled the asteroid chamber. Yes, Mom, Reed replied, with help from an alien informant. And you trust this, Vex? I trust what I can verify, Admiral. The network works. It sees what our sensors can't. It hears what no one else can hear. Admiral West stopped walking and faced Reed. Do you understand what you've done, Captain? You've built an intelligence gathering system beyond anything the Council has allowed us to have. If they find out, they'll destroy it. Reed finished, and possibly us along with it, but we need to know what's happening out there. Vex wasn't wrong about one thing. The Council members don't all have our best interests at heart. After a long moment, West nodded. This operation is now classified under Blacker Protocol, official support, complete deniability. Tom Blake sat alone in his security office on Echo Station, reviewing footage from a Council inspection ship that had visited that morning. The lizard-like aliens had spent hours searching the station, claiming they were looking for prohibited technology transfers. They had found nothing, of course. All the Whisper components had been moved to the asteroid base weeks ago, but the timing of the inspection worried Blake. His computer beeped. It was a secure message from one of his sources in Earth's diplomatic corps, council requesting permission for expanded military exercises near Saturn. The message read, "Unpreed fleet size proposed." Blake frowned. Why would the council need military exercises in Earth's solar system, and why now? They're tracking our movements, Reed said during the next team meeting at the asteroid base. Blake's report confirms they're suspicious, but they don't know about this place. Lisa said the inspection team found nothing. Maybe not, but they're not stupid, Marcus added. They've delivered this tech to us piece by piece. They must suspect we're doing something with it. Emma brought up the space map, now showing a large collection of dots near Saturn. Council ships are gathering for exercises, but the Whisper network is picking up unusual communication patterns between them. They're searching for something. Reed turned to the newest addition to their team, Kate, a linguistics expert who had been analyzing the alien communications captured by the Whisper network. Any progress decoding their secure channels, he asked. Kate pushed her glasses up. The council species use different languages, but I found patterns in their communications. They keep referring to something called protocol silence, and they're specifically looking for technology signatures that match our Whisper network. The room fell quiet. So they know, Lisa said finally. Reed shook his head. They suspect, but they don't know. If they knew, they'd have come directly here. What do we do? Marcus asked. We keep building, Reed decided, but we need to be smarter about it. Emma, can you find a way to mask the network's energy signature? Emma thought for a moment. The Whisper nodes absorb energy rather than emit it. That's why they look dark. If we build a proper housing for the network, we might be able to contain what little emissions there are. Do it, Reed ordered. And Marcus, it's time to think bigger than just a detection system. Clear's throat. Marcus raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Reed walked to the center of the room where a holographic projector showed the growing Whisper network. Vex's data suggested these components were originally designed for a ship, not just a detection system, but the core of a vessel that could move through space undetected. A stealth ship? Blake asked skeptically. More than stealth, Reed explained. The Whispers don't just detect ripples in subspace. Properly configured, they might be able to manipulate those ripples. Kate looked up from her console. Captain, I just decoded more of their communications. They're not just searching, they're preparing something called containment protocol for Earth. Reed's face hardened. Then we don't have much time. Admiral West needs to see this. Later that night, as the rest of the team slept, Reed stood alone in the chamber. With the Whisper network, the hexagonal nodes pulsed with blue light, creating patterns like stars in a private galaxy. He placed his hand near one of the nodes. The blue light seemed to reach for him, bending toward his fingers without quite touching them. Clear's throat. What are you? He whispered, as if in response. The lights pulsed faster, and for just a moment, Reed thought he heard something, a sound, just at the edge of hearing, not words exactly, but a presence. The Council announces expanded military exercises near Jupiter and Saturn. Beginning next week, the news flashed across screens all over Earth. Most humans paid little attention. Council clears throat. Ships have become a common sight in the solar system, but at the hidden asteroid base, Tom Blake watched the announcement with narrowed eyes. Military exercises don't require 73 ships, he said to no one in particular. Reed nodded. And they don't need ships designed for planetary assault. The Whisper network had grown powerful enough to identify ship types based on their subspace ripples. What the Council claimed were routine exercise vessels were actually invasion craft. How much longer until we're ready? Reed asked, turning to Marcus and Emma. The two exchanged glances before Marcus spoke. The frame is almost complete, but we still need the core components for the propulsion system. Vex's data mentions special drive units. Emma added, they should be in the next garbage delivery if the Council doesn't cancel it. Reed's communicator beeped. Captain, there's a message from Admiral West, Priority 1. An hour later, Reed met with his core team. His face was grim. Earth governments have enacted the Shadow Protocol, he announced. All defense forces are on high alert. The Council's exercises have been recognized as the threat they are. About time. Blake muttered. What does this mean for us? Lisa asked. It means we get full resources, Reed said, and a deadline. We have 10 days to make this ship operational. 10 days, Marcus sputtered. Captain, that's impossible. We've barely finished the outer hull. Earth doesn't have longer than that, Reed replied firmly. Admiral West has seen the latest Whisper network data. There's a massive fleet assembly happening beyond Pluto. The ships near Jupiter are just the advance force. The room fell silent as the reality of the situation sank in. We'll need more people, Emma said. Finally, Reed nodded. Each of you pick your best 3 people from Echo Station, people you trust completely. We bring them here tonight. 3 days later, the asteroid base hummed with activity. 27 people now worked around the clock, assembling what had once been trash into humanity's most advanced vessel. In the main construction bay, the ship was taking form. It was unlike any human craft. Sleek and black, its hull seemed to drink in light rather than reflected. The shape was oddly organic, like a predator from the deep ocean. Marcus supervised a team mounting the last of the Whisper nodes into a spherical chamber at the heart of the vessel. Careful with that, he shouted as a technician nearly dropped one of the hexagonal devices. Each one is irreplaceable. Nearby, Emma and Kate worked on integrating their findings into the ship systems. The Whisper network isn't just a detection system, Emma explained to Reed as he checked on their progress. It's a way to move through subspace differently than normal ships. Different how? Reed asked. Kate looked up from her computer. Normal ships punch through into subspace, creating those ripples we detect, but these Whisper nodes, they slip between the layers of reality like a ghost passing through wall. A ghost ship, Reed mused. More like a shadow, Emma corrected. It moves through the dark places between stars without disturbing them. That's why the Council banned this technology. A ship like this could go anywhere, hear anything, and never be detected unless you know exactly what to listen for. Reed finished the thought. On the 6th day, the garbage delivery they were waiting for finally arrived at Echo Station. Blake personally supervised the collection and sorting, finding the drive components hidden among broken engine parts from a Krello battleship. By the time he returned to the asteroid, the Council had announced that their exercises would be extended and expanded. They're stalling, Blake told Reed as they rushed the components too. Marcus waiting for their main fleet too. Get into position, then we'd better. Hurry, Reed said grimly. On the 8th day, disaster nearly struck a council. Scout ship changed course unexpectedly, heading directly toward their asteroid. They must have detected something, Blake said, watching the approaching dot. On their screens, shut down all systems. Reed ordered everything except life support for 60 hours. They waited in near darkness as the Council ship passed within 50,000 km of their position. Only the Whisper network remained partially active, its components absorbing energy rather than emitting it. They're moving away, Lisa finally reported. Reb breathed again. They didn't see us, but they were looking for something. We're running out of time. On the 10th day, Admiral West arrived personally to inspect their progress. The ship, now named Nightingale after the earth bird known for its beautiful song in darkness, was nearly complete. It doesn't look like it could stand up to a council destroyer, the Admiral observed, walking around the Nightingale's sleek hull. It's not meant to, Reed explained. The Nightingale doesn't fight conventionally. It moves where other ships can't go and sees what they can't see. West nodded slowly. Our intelligence suggests the Council will begin their actual invasion in 3 days. Will it be ready? It has to be, Reed replied. That night is final. Preparations continued. Reed found himself drawn to the core chamber of the Nightingale. The Whisper nodes now formed a perfect sphere, and at the heart of the ship, pulsing with blue light. As he approached, the light seemed to reach out to him, just as it had done before. What are you trying to tell me? He whispered. This time the response was stronger, not words but impressions. Danger, urgency, and something else. Sense of recognition. Clear's throat, as if the technology itself had been waiting for this moment. Reed placed his hand near the sphere, and the blue light danced around his fingers. In that instant, he understood something crucial. You were made for us, he said softly. The people who created you. They knew we would find you. The lights pulsed in what almost seemed like agreement. Behind him, Lisa cleared her throat. Captain, the crew is assembled. We're ready for your briefing. Reed turned, a new determination in his eyes. Tell them the Nightingale launches in 12 hours. We're taking her out for her first test flight. So soon? Lisa asked, surprised. Reed nodded, looking back at the Whisper core. She's ready, and I think she's eager to fly. The Council believed they had given Earth nothing but trash. Instead, humans had built something that whispered in the dark, and soon those whispers would become a roar that would echo across the stars. Final systems check complete, Lisa reported from her station on the Nightingale's bridge. All Whisper nodes are operating at full capacity. Reed nodded, settling into the captain's chair. The bridge was unlike any on a standard Earth vessel. Instead of screens and control panels, Whisper tech interfaces glowed with soft blue light. The walls themselves seemed alive, showing the space around them as if the ship's hull were transparent. Engine status? Reed asked. Ready, Marcus replied from the engineering station. But I still don't fully understand how they work. These aren't engines in the normal sense. They don't push or pull. They slide weapons, Reed continued. Blake frowned at his console. We have standard defense systems, but they're almost an afterthought. This ship wasn't built primarily for combat. No, Reed agreed. It was built for something else. He turned to Emma, detection range. Emma's eyes widened as she read her. Display, it's impossible, we're picking up ship movements across half the solar system. I can even detect communication signals from the Council home worlds. Then it's time. Reed took a deep breath. Helm, take us out slow and steady, for a ship cobbled together from discarded alien tech by human engineers with minimal understanding of its principles. The Night Andal moved with surprising grace. It slipped out of the asteroid shadow and into the void. No alarms from nearby Council ships, Blake reported. They don't see us. Increase speed, Reed ordered. Let's see what she can do. The Nightingale accelerated smoothly, reaching speeds no human ship had achieved inside a solar system, yet it produced no exhaust flare, no radiation signature, no detectable emissions of any kind. We're approaching Jupiter, Lisa announced. Council military exercises are ongoing in this sector. Perfect, Reed said. Take us closer. I want to see if they can detect us at close range. The Night Andal glided silently toward the massive form of Jupiter. Around the giant planet, dozens of Council ships maneuvered in what appeared to be battle formations. There, practicing planetary approach vectors. Blake observed grimly. Invasion patterns as they watched a Council command ship emerged from behind one of Jupiter's moons. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Nightingale. Hold position, Reed ordered. How close are we? 50 km, Lisa replied. Well, within their standard detection range. And they've got no idea we're here, Marcus added with a note of wonder in his voice. Reed studied the Council ship through the night and Gill's transparent walls. Emma, what can you tell me about their communications? Emma was bent over her station, focusing Clear's throat. Intently, I'm picking up everything. Internal ship communications, orders to the fleet, even personal messages between crew members. The whisper nodes aren't just hearing them, they are translating in real time. And Reed prompted. Emma looked up, her face pale. It's not exercises, Captain, it's staging. The main fleet is almost in position beyond Pluto. They're planning to attack in less than 48 hours. Target major population centers first, then military installations. Emma swallowed hard. They're talking about resource extraction and population management. They're not planning to destroy Earth. They want to harvest it. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. There's more, Kate added from her station. I've been analyzing their secure transmissions. The Council isn't united on this. There's a group called the Syndicate pushing for the invasion. They want Earth's resources and humans as labor for their colonies, like Vex said. Reed murmured. Politics, Captain. Blake interrupted. I'm detecting a shift in the Council ship's sensor array. They're running a deep space scan on this sector. Can they see us? Reed asked sharply. I don't think so, but Blake was cut off by a sudden alarm. They've launched scout ships, 4 of them, heading in our direction. Time to test the night and true capabilities, Reed said calmly. Marcus, activate the whisper core fully. Marcus hesitated. Sir, we haven't tested it at full power yet. The effects could be understood. Do it anyway. Marcus nodded and adjusted controls on his panel. In the center of the ship, the sphere of whisper nodes pulsed brighter. The blue light spread through the ship systems and the bridge. Illumination dimmed momentarily. What's happening? Lisa asked. Reed felt a strange sensation, as if the ship itself had become less solid, the transparent walls showing the space around them took on a ghostly quality. We're phasing, Emma whispered, checking her instruments partially out of normal space. The scout ships are still approaching, Blake reported, but their scan patterns are erratic. They know something's here, but they can't get a lock on us. Take us away, Reed ordered, slow and steady. As the night end began to move, one of the scout ships suddenly changed course, heading directly toward them. They've spotted us, Blake shouted, clears throat. No, Emma countered, they've spotted something, the distortion perhaps, but not us specifically. The scout ship fired a warning shot, a beam of energy that passed through the space where the Nightingale floated. They missed, Lisa said, relief in her voice, because we're not fully here. Reed realized. Marcus, can we phase deeper? Before Marcus could answer, the council scout fired again, and this time the beam grazed the Nightingale's hull. Alarms blared across the bridge. Minor damage to the outer hull, Marcus reported. The phasing isn't complete. Return fire, Reed ordered. Blake's hands moved over his console. A moment later, the Nightingale's defensive weapons fired, but something unexpected happened. The energy beams passing through the whisper field generated by the ship change. They split into hundreds of smaller beams, each targeting a different part of the council scouts simultaneously. The scout ship didn't explode, it simply went dark, all systems failing at once. What did we do? Blake asked, staring at his console in confusion. The whisper field altered our weapon output, Emma explained rapidly, analyzing data instead of destroying their hull. It disrupted their systems, all of them simultaneously. Reed leaned forward. Can the other scouts see what happened? Yes, Blake confirmed. They're backing off. Wait, they're sending an alert to the command ship. Time to leave, Reed decided. Marcus, maximum power to the whisper core. Take us out of here, Lisa. Beyond the council's sensor range, the Nightingale surged forward, the blue glow of its systems intensifying. As it moved, it seemed to fade further from reality, becoming more shadow than substance. Behind them, the council ship scrambled to respond, but the Nightingale was already gone, slipping between the layers of space like a whisper in the dark. Set course for Earth, Reed ordered. We need to warn Admiral West. The council now knows something impossible is in our solar system, and time has just run out. The council fleet has begun its advance, Admiral West announced to the gathered military leaders in Earth's unified Defense Command Center. 500 ships approaching from beyond Pluto. On the main screen, tiny dots of light move toward the inner solar system. Earth's combined defense fleet, barely 80 ships, looked pathetically small in comparison. Our conventional forces cannot win this fight, West continued, but we don't plan to fight conventionally. She nodded to Reed, who stepped forward. In the 24 hours since the Knight's return, Earth had been preparing for war. The council believes we're defenseless, Reed said. They don't know what we've built from their trash on the bridge of the Nightingale. Reed studied the tactical display. The whisper nodes had revealed something crucial. All ships traveling through subspace had to follow certain paths, like rivers flowing through the void, and all those paths to Earth converged at a single point. Position us here, Reed ordered, pointing to the location where the subspace routes narrowed. If we're going to make our Stan, this is the place, Lisa guided the Night and Gale to the coordinates. Around them, space looked empty too. Normalize. But through the whisper enhanced sensors, they could see the currents of subspace, invisible highways along which the Council invasion fleet would travel. The first wave will arrive in 30 minutes, Blake reported. Reed nodded. Status of the Whisper core running at maximum capacity, Marcus replied. Whatever you're planning, Captain, we're ready. Reed turned to Emma and Kate. You've studied the Whisper technology more than anyone. What happens if we reverse the field? The two women exchanged surprised looks. In theory, Emma said slowly, instead of allowing us to slide through subspace undetected, it would disrupt subspace itself, like throwing a boulder into a stream. Kate added, it would create turbulence that no ship could safely navigate. Could we create that disruption without destroying ourselves? Reed asked. Marcus frowned, running calculations. Maybe if we ejected the Whisper core at the exact moment of activation, but Captain, we'd lose the heart of our ship. Better to lose one ship than our entire planet, Reed said firmly. As the Council fleet approached, the Night Andal waited silently. Through their enhanced communications, they could hear the Syndicate commanders confidently discussing how they would divide Earth's resources. They don't even consider us a threat, Blake said bitterly. Good, Reed replied. That's our advantage. The first wave of the invasion fleet, 100 ships strong, entered the subspace convergence point, the Nightingale. Sensors showed them clearly, still unaware of the human vessel hiding in their midst. Now Red ordered. Marcus activated the final sequence. The Whisper core, the heart of the Night Andal, began to pulse faster than ever before. The blue light turned almost white with intensity. Core ejection in 10 seconds, Marcus announced. Once it's released, we'll have 15 seconds to clear the disruption zone. Reed nodded. Lisa, plot our escape route. Everyone secure for high-speed maneuvers. 5 seconds. Marcus counted down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ejection. The core of Whisper nodes, the technology painstakingly collected from alien trash over months, separated from the Night and Gale. It floated in space, its light growing even brighter as the reverse field began to activate. Go, Reed shouted. The Nightingale surged away from the floating core, pushing its remaining systems to the limit. Behind them, the Whisper core reached critical energy levels and exploded in a silent blast of blue-white light, but instead of a normal explosion that expanded outward, this one collapsed inward. It created a vortex, a swirling distortion in the fabric of subspace itself. On their sensors, they watched as the Council ships, caught in the disruption, were violently pulled from subspace back into normal space. Ships crashed into each other, engines failed, communication systems went dead. It worked, Emma whispered in awe. The entire first wave is disabled, Blake confirmed, checking his readings, and the distortion is still growing. It's affecting the second wave too. From Earth's command center, Admiral West watched as hundreds of Council ships suddenly appeared in normal space. Their formation shattered, many of them damaged or powerless. Phase 2, she ordered. Earth's defense fleet, small but prepared, moved in to engage the crippled invasion force. It wasn't a fair fight, and for once, the advantage belonged to humanity. On the Nightingale, operating on backup systems after losing its Whisper core, Reed received the transmission from Admiral West. The Council fleet is in disarray. Their command structure has collapsed. We're moving in to secure their surrender. Reed allowed himself a small smile. Any word from the rest of the Council? That's the interesting part, West replied. We're receiving transmissions from several Council species. They're disavowing any connection to the invasion, claiming it was an unauthorized action by the syndicate. Faction clears throat politicians, Reed said, echoing Vex's earlier assessment. There's more. West continued, a group calling themselves the Council Reformation Committee, his requesting to send representatives to Earth. They want to discuss membership. Reed looked around at his crew, humans, who had taken alien garbage and built something that had changed the course of history. Tell them we'll consider their request, he replied, but on our terms. 3 months later, Reed stood in the rebuilt Whisper core chamber of the Nightingale. After the battle, Vex had emerged from hiding, bringing with him other alien allies and more Whisper technology. The syndicate thought they were being clever, Vex explained, as technicians installed new, more advanced Whisper nodes, giving primitives trash, keeping them busy sorting garbage while planning to take their world. They didn't expect us to build something like this, Reed said, gesturing to the ship around them. That is why my faction chose humans, Vex replied, his four arms making a gesture of respect. You see patterns others miss. You build wonders from scraps. The syndicate feared that potential. We wish to nurture it. Reed watched as the new Whisper core began to glow, and now Earth sits on the Council, the first of many changes. The old powers called you disposable. They will learn that was their greatest mistake. Outside the viewport, Reed could see other ships under construction in Earth's orbital shipyards, each one built around Whisper technology, each one named after birds that sang in darkness: nightingale, mockingbird, whippoorwill, owl. Together they formed the beginning of what the Council now called, with a mixture of respect and fear, the Whisper fleet. They had given humans trash. Humans had built something that changed the galaxy, and it all began with Whispers in the